pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Tonight's roll call: Calhoun,
Here.
Barnwell,
Here.
Wells,
Here.
DeMoss,
Here.
Finch,
Here.
Osinga,
Here.
and Mayor McClure.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Now we have citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. There is no public hearing. You will have a 3-minute opportunity to speak. Those who are signed in will be able to speak first. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed in?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have two. The first one is Norm Regis.
Okay. And you know the routine.
Hi, Madam Mayor, Norm Regis, outside city limits. So I just want to say that, like, GovHR did a great job for us last time. They could do a lot of vetting and stuff like that, as long as they, look inside of Alaska also, really hard first maybe, and then continue the process. But they do a lot of vetting. HR is pretty busy with all the stuff going on, all the hiring in the spring. So, for her to do some of the vetting would be a little much, but we'll just do the best we can if whatever way you guys decide. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk?
And last signed in is Linda Paquette.
This is the first time I've done this.
Yeah, it's exciting, huh?
It is exciting. And I understand the resistance to it as well, after the 20-some years that I've been coming.
It's changed.
It's changed. But it is weird because in the past there has been the sense that you could include the community in the comments that we were saying to the council.
We need your name.
Linda Paquette, outside city limits. So, GovHR, we've used them a couple of times now. The one thing that I didn't see, and it could be in there, and I apologize if I missed it, but the one thing that I think is really important that gets asked is, who do they know in the community already? That isn't a question that was asked, I don't believe, at least not 2 times ago for sure. And I don't remember if you were asked that question, but I really think it's important that we have transparency from the people applying, and that we know if they already have hooks in the community or have been influenced by people in the community. It's important to know that. You may still hire them, but I think transparency is really key, and I think that's a really important piece. So, please and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good. Is there anyone else signed in?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone out there that wants to speak? I see none. So we'll close this portion and move to approval of the agenda and the consent agenda, and I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Voting on tonight's agenda and consent agenda: Osinga,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
DeMoss,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved, and you have no items on consent.
Okay, thank you, which moves us to the special orders and presentations. We have a presentation from GovHR, and are you on the phone at this point? I don't remember her name.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you want to
Can you
just...
hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you just fine, and
Mary Jacobs.
you're on our screen now. And you could introduce yourself and tell us what you got.
All right. Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Osinga, and members of the council, thank you so much for the privilege of this presentation and for the opportunity to conduct the recruitment of your next city manager. I know you have in your packet our proposal. You also have the slides that I provided last week that I'll be reviewing this evening. And so, if it's all right, Madam Mayor, I'd like to I'm going to keep the presentation short and open it up for any questions that you may have. And then I don't want to presume approval of the contract, but assuming the council does vote favorably for a contract with GovHR, then I'd like to spend some time this evening with you to review the candidate qualifications and get your input and the schedule and all of the other details. Does that sound appropriate?
I believe so. Okay.
Okay. And please interrupt me since I can't see you. I hope that I won't find it offensive at all if you interrupt me at all, and I won't know who is speaking except for you, Mayor. So please forgive me if I'm not as on it. I usually like to call people by their names. But,
Okay.
well, let me just start with, my name is Mary Jacobs. I'm a Vice President with GovHR, and I am very pleased to make this presentation. I am a lead consultant and would be responsible, the primary one responsible for this recruitment if council decides to move forward with this. There we go. Excuse me, I was going through a little bit too fast, so let me, if you don't mind, I need to share my screen, and I will get the slides back up. Thank you for your patience. Okay.
We can see it.
Can you see my, okay, terrific, thank you. So, I seem to be in a bit of a delay, just one moment.
Probably 2 seconds.
There we go. I want to brag a little bit about GovHR because I'm very proud to be a part of this team. We have a philosophy of that is foundational to the ICMA Code of Ethics. Integrity is the hallmark of what we do, and we behave with trust and respect for all of our clients, which are in the local government arena. We specialize in servicing local governments, and that can be special districts, cities, towns, counties, including some of the fire districts and planning organizations. But we have a team that are local government professionals, have many, many years of experience, and have a passion for local government. And so we have a wide breadth of experience. We also have a wide breadth of connections in terms of where we can find people, and that all means that we are successful in bringing candidates to our clients. We have conducted and done business in 44 of the states in the United States. We are a national firm, and we have consultants that are located in states across the entire country. The remote work has been very useful, and it was always done remotely, but COVID certainly has opened the door to other opportunities to assist clients that we haven't in some of the states. And so we have, just since 2009, we have been engaged to conduct 1,200 recruitments in those states. And as you know, and was mentioned by your public speakers prior, we did conduct your city manager recruitment in 2019 and again in 2020. So I will be the lead consultant on this, but some of you may recognize Joellen Camatori. She has also been to Seward and has assisted and conducted a classification compensation study and has been part of the service GovHR has provided to your beautiful community. And so she and I will both be working on this project together. One of the things that I believe makes us unique is that we really customize our process for each of our clients. And we start first with, in this case, talking to you. We want to know, what are your issues? What are the things that you are looking for in a candidate, so that we can make sure that we find you the right candidates that are going to fit you in terms of an employee and also the community, and that have the kinds of skills, knowledge, and background that will be successful in Seward. So we also have we make sure that all of the candidates who apply for the process who are qualified, we speak with all of them. We get to know these candidates. We want to be able to, when we meet with you, explain all about the candidates, share with you their background, their pluses, their minuses, and then of course we conduct a wide variety of due diligence, from the normal standard background checks to an internet-based research, so that we can find out if there's any information that's floating out there that we need to know about. We do conduct a very extensive background process before we bring you those candidates. And then we prepare a package, a report for you, and we bring that to you in advance. And then all through the process, we support and advise the council so that we can assist you in whatever way you find is best. And each of our clients likes to do it just a little bit differently. And so we respond to your needs so that this is a process that works for you. So just real quickly, these are the things that are absolutely critical to our success. And that is, number one, working together. We consider you a partner in this process. And while we're doing the preliminary work, I think it was mentioned, we work very closely with your team. I've been communicating with Tammy and with Jeanette, and there will be a lot of that communication to make sure that we are in lockstep. That means giving you updates so that you know what's going on. We have a great network and some terrific ways that we can reach out, not only with the network that we have, but we have networks from people that we've worked with through ICMA. I have networks through the military, because I spent some time in 17 years in a military community. And so we want to be able to attract the right candidates for you. Diversity is important. We'd like to present you with candidates, and we'd like to attract candidates to this job who could have a different type of background, whether that's their educational background or whether that's their personal or cultural background. But we do have a great commitment and great success in bringing a wide variety of candidates to our clients. As I mentioned before, I will keep you apprised, and we are absolutely known for our communication. That's what we hear consistently with our clients, is that there was never any question that you didn't know what we were doing and how long it was going to take and what the next steps were. And then, as I mentioned before, our commitment to the local government profession is a real hallmark of GovHR. Our two founders are city management professionals, and they have been doing and focused. They could have broadened their company many years ago, but they continue to focus on local government because of the passion for this career, whether it's city management, department directors, or any of the other types of professionals. Local government is important to all of us, and I think you will see that in the work that we do for you. This is just a list of some recently completed city and county management positions, and we're currently working on a lot more that are in the midst of the process, but I just thought that you would get a flavor for the types of communities that we represent. Some are in your region. We haven't done any in Alaska in the past year or two, I think, but we certainly have clients from all over the country. Small communities, larger communities, rural communities, urban communities. They run the gamut. And that concludes my presentation, Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you for the opportunity.
thank you. So what I will do is when council members have questions or comments, I'll call on them by name, so at least you'll hear the name of the person that's speaking. That's how we do it. I'll open it up to questions and comments from council. Councilmember DeMoss.
Thank you. I've got a couple questions. So, is the advertising done nationwide, and do you advertise in Alaska? Is one
Mayor,
question.
council members, that is an excellent question. Yes, we do advertise nationwide, although in this particular case, for Seward, we recognize that this city management position is going to attract a certain type of person. And so we've already been giving some thought as to where our target areas. Number one is Alaska. Number one. And so we would reach out to the League and the Alaska City Management Association. Those are typically where we can get advertising to go to there, not to mention, of course, the personal touch. But we'd also focus on some of the other states where we think the interest in the outdoors, the interest in rural might be at the top of the list of some city management candidates that could be looking for a position at this time. For example, we probably recommend advertising in the Idaho City County Management Association, Montana, Colorado, Oregon, probably Washington, and so those are the ones that came to mind as well. But clearly, you know, the region is going to be the most important, and Alaska is definitely at the top of the list.
Great.
Thank you. Follow-up question?
Yes, please.
Councilmember DeMoss.
I just have one more question. Thank you. We have been without a finance director for quite a while, and I was wondering if you can offer us any option to include advertising for a finance director at the same time.
I'll check. I know that we can definitely repost on the GovHR website, and we can advise you for sure, because the advertising is going to be, it's paid for on a one-to-one basis anyway. You pay the actual cost of any advertising, and so that's clear. That's called out in our contract. We can recommend with you. So if we're, for example, we get a lot of our interest on LinkedIn. That might be something that we could recommend to you. Why don't you post on LinkedIn and you know, pay the cost to post on LinkedIn, or some of the other locations where it's just time to repost. For the free ones, I will be happy to repost your finance director position. I will tell you, just so you know, Councilmember DeMoss, you are not the only community struggling with trying to recruit a finance director. That seems to be the most difficult position to recruit right now across the country. So don't feel bad. It really is a tough one.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Other questions, comments from council members? Councilmember Calhoun.
Yeah, I have a question that kind of came up in that last answer. You mentioned paid sites that we would be responsible to pay for advertising on, and free sites that are out there. So I guess my question, and I apologize if I have missed this somewhere, is if we were to approve this at the $24,500 amount for recruitment fees, does that include the cost of advertising on those paid sites, or would that end up being an additional cost to us outside of that?
Mayor, council member, that's a very good question. Our proposal includes $2,500 of advertising costs, and we find that that's usually adequate. And I think having done some preliminary look at these sites and what they would cost, I think we would stay within that $2,500 budget. So yes, it is part of that cost, that $2,450 cost.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but that could change if it ends up being more than that, then we could be obligated to more than that, or we just wouldn't advertise on any sites beyond that amount of money unless we approved additional appropriation. Is that?
That's correct. So we would work with your team to get the advertisements to within the $2,500, which I think we can do. I feel confident based on the types of advertising. Some of the places that we're looking at, for example, in Alaska, the league and the city managers association, those are free to you, so that's not a cost. Some of the other states, it's a nominal amount. It might be $150. The biggest costs are typically LinkedIn and ICMA, but both of those are at the top of the list. I would want to make sure that you included those. So I feel very confident that we will be able to stay within that $2,500 advertising budget.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, I have a question for you about how this would work. We're asking questions about relative to the presentation at this point, but we will be discussing the resolution, so keep us on track of what we're doing here.
Well, there were other documents that were included behind the presentation and the timeline, and I think that Ms. Jacobs indicated that would be part of the discussion while the resolution was.
Right, the specifics about their contract.
Right.
So in general now, we're just asking general questions relative to what they do. Yeah, I just don't want to jump the gun before we get to the, okay. Are there any other sort of general questions? Because we'll have more discussion during the resolution. Yes, Councilmember Barnwell.
Just with the preliminary information that she has at this point, are we a competitive bid? Do you find, is this going to be a difficult position to fill, or do you think with our package,
Good question.
it looks like it's going to be a fairly easy fill?
Mayor and Councilman Barnwell, I think that, and I do have some time in the presentation, sort of the subsequent presentation about what does the market look like. What do I see your challenges are in terms of filling this position, and where would we work with you to try to overcome those challenges? So, and we also put some room in there for the discussion regarding compensation and relocation, and that will be important. That's an important consideration. So, I want to be mindful of making sure, as the mayor mentioned, that I don't jump into some of the more specific things regarding the candidate profile before you had an opportunity to consider GovHR's representation of you in this matter. And I guess the clerk or your attorney could weigh in on that.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Wells.
Yep, so you said it's $24,500 and that includes $2,500 in advertising costs. And this may be a question for administration, because on the there's the certification of funds, it says 30,000.
Administration can answer that.
Madam Mayor, that also includes, if I understand correctly, that also includes the costs for interviews, so travel for the candidates for interviews. Yes, candidates travel for in-person interviews.
Okay, other questions relative to GovHR and their presentation? Okay, seeing none. I will move us into new business then. And what we have before us is a resolution, Resolution 2023-046. Madam Clerk, would you?
Yes,
when
ma'am.
you're ready.
Resolution 2023-046 is authorizing the city manager to enter into a recruitment services contract with GovHR and appropriating funds.
Okay, thank you, and that's on page 14 of our special meeting packet. And I would need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2023-046.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Does administration have any comments about this first, I guess?
I am going to defer to Human Resources Manager and/or the Assistant City Manager on this one.
Okay. Tammy?
I do not have any comments
No
at this time.
comments at this point? Okay. So we have before us a discussion on this resolution to or enter into contract with GovHR for recruitment. Discussion, comments? And I believe within this discussion now, we could be asking specific questions about the contract itself too, since it's on the floor. Okay. Councilmember Finch.
My understanding is we could have a lot of this work done through, I think it's AML, and how much money would we probably save if we did it ourselves through AML?
Madam City Manager, you can clear that.
AML does not offer screening services, or they won't review applications. The only thing they will do is advertise. So they don't offer any other services.
They won't do the background checks?
AML JIA through our insurance can do that, but not the rest of the, screening processes and being that constant contact with the person submitting an application, the applicants. They don't offer any of those services.
So if we could,
Councilmember Finch.
like, do 4 weeks of us advertising through the AML and then go with Gov, instead of just dropping $30,000.
That's what your suggestion would be. Councilmember Wells.
Yeah, I think on page 23 of the packet where it starts out with the project approach, phase 1, position assessment, information gathering, and then it moves on over on page 24, the candidate evaluation and screening, and then I think that, do we have, we're about to be short a city manager, do we have the staff to be this detailed? Yes, we could advertise, and I understand Councilmember Finch's his point there. Let's say we do 30 days, right? Then we have to do all of this type of stuff in-house. Do we do it correctly? Do we have somebody in-house who does all this?
Correct. I would have to see what is out there for me to use, but it would just be myself reviewing the applications.
Councilmember Wells.
Is there anything in this proposal that you don't think you could do? Starting on page 23.
I do not think there's anything that I could not give a try to.
Just in case, Councilmember Wells, did you have a follow-up on that?
Not right this second.
Okay, Councilmember DeMoss.
I guess I have a couple thoughts. I appreciate the idea of advertising in-state and seeing what we get, and I understand the pressure that we don't want to put on administration or our resources for trying to vet all of these applications, but are we going to get a ton of applications? And, you know, I think that we've expressed, some of us have expressed that we, you know, the importance of it being someone potentially local, or at least that understands or has ties to Alaska. So, I mean, I would be supportive of trying to advertise in-state using our own resources if we felt that we wanted to take on the vetting of the applications ourselves. I mean, I can't imagine that there's going to be hundreds or even 20. So I guess that those are my thoughts at this time. I don't know if I have any questions.
Vice Mayor Osenga.
My only thought is, of course, what you just referred to, which is the number of applicants. I think that, and I might be remembering this wrong, but I do believe the last time we used GovHR that there was actually, I thought, close to 20 applicants. I could be wrong, and I think they weeded them down to the 6, and what they weeded them down to was we give them direction on what we're looking for. So if we're going to have to say, you know, can you handle the dark winters? Can you handle sewer, this, you know, harbors, all of our utilities or infrastructure? Those kinds of things would actually be baked into what they're going to be looking for us. They would work with us so that they know what we're looking for. I would just hate to try to spend any more time. I would like to cast the widest net possible, which I think would be more of a nationwide type net, so we can get as many applicants screened to the way we work together with GovHR, determine what this criteria is that we're looking for in a city manager, and then move forward from there. I just think that it's an awful lot of work for us to do personally.
Let me get Councilmember Finch first, and then I'll get you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe the amount of years of living in Seward that's sitting here, compared with our knowledge, compared to what we can give GovHR, is in the interviewing process, something could come up that Randy might want to ask about, or Mr. Calhoun might. By us having that access and ability, I think it overall would benefit the council, the city, and the people of Seward by doing those interviews by ourselves. Because of our amount of years that we have here living here. We know what we want, we know what we're going to expect more than anybody else.
Connecticut. Vice Mayor Osenga? No? Okay. Councilmember Calhoun.
Well, having not gone through this, even in my prior stint on the city council, and I don't want this to sound like it probably is going to sound. We did this in 2019, we did this in 2020, and now we're doing this again in 2023. It hasn't really worked out that great yet. So my thought is I would much prefer that we utilize the resources that we have available to advertise. Obviously, I know it can't be an Alaskan preference hiring thing. We can't do that, but we could do our own advertising through AML and through some of the other organizations that are in the state. And we would probably, if there's interest out there, get some outside of the state candidates anyway. This is not a knock on GovHR at all, believe me, and that's, I don't want anybody to take anything personally here, but I just think that the track record in the last few years hasn't really proven to work out as best as we might have hoped for it to. And so I think that 30 days isn't a big period of time for us to take a look at doing some of this ourselves. And if at that point we don't come up with the candidates that we want, then we always have this option to go back out there. And so that's my thought. I'm in support of us giving it a shot on our own for 30 days, and I'm willing to do extra work if I have to. That doesn't bother me.
Okay, did you want to say anything? Okay, Councilmember Wells.
So, I know that we've done this twice, even though I wasn't here, right? So were they both for city managers, 19 and 20? Well then, what if GovHR gave us 50% off because they already have all the information that we want and they already know everything that we're looking for?
You could ask.
Well, I mean,
If she's on the.
well, yeah, so, Ms. Jacobs, Mary Jacobs, since you already have all the information, it's not like you're starting from scratch. Why are we getting charged for the same amount of work as if you were?
Mr. Mayor and council member, first of all, those 2 recruitments that were done, you got both of those for the same price because it was within the guarantee of GovHR.
Okay.
So you only paid once and we did it twice already. And while we do have much of them, a lot of the information, we've got a lot of historical information. What we don't have, this is a new council with new expectations. A new recruitment brochure will need to be developed. And most importantly, that's just the writing part of it, right? Most importantly, what we do for you is we do the hand calling, hand reaching out through our network to find people who are interested in applying for this position. And because not everybody's going to the different websites to look for a job, and so what we do is we make sure that people are aware of them. And that's what takes the most amount of time in this recruitment process.
Follow-up, Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. So, your footwork and expenses in the headhunting process.
But
Correct.
for the most part, yes, and then of course all of the background checks and, just processing applications and that sort of thing. But yes, I would say that the heavy lift is in the headhunting.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Osenga, your hand was up, and now it's not anymore again. Oh, I thought it was. Okay, Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Calhoun about 2019 and 2020 didn't work for us. Even if they've got everything, it's not lining up. I think the experience that's sitting here would be better off picking a city manager that's more specific for Seward. I'm sure we've all got experience interviewing staff.
I'll just interject that if GovHR were to do this, they will present us with quite a number of applicants, and then we weed it down by our own decisions to a reasonable number, which, I don't know, we call 6 or something like that, and then we discuss them amongst ourselves, and we interview via Zoom or something, pretty much all of them, I believe we did, before we even decide. So we'll still, just pointing out, we'll still be the ones that make the decisions and do the interviewing at the final stage. We can ask them anything we want, just so you know. I saw a bunch of hands, so I'll go this way first. Councilmember Demas.
The last time that I was a part of this, it was whittled down to 10 applications for us. And I remember personally, I only wanted 1 of those 10. And I wouldn't have been okay with any of the other ones. So I'm just gonna throw out a motion. And I'm gonna motion that we postpone for 30 days. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna motion to postpone Resolution 2023-046 until the first meeting in June to allow for a 30-day application period. I was gonna say 30-day application period. In-house, what it makes sense. 30-day can't say in-state. 30-day application period. 30-day application period.
City recruitment
Yeah.
period.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, so now we're discussing this motion to postpone the resolution authorizing a contract with GovHR until the first meeting in June, so that we would advertise through our own HR department specifically. Okay, so do you want, actually, you should speak to your motion first, and then I'll go that way.
So I guess the way I would see this going down, obviously we could brainstorm, would be to see what applications we get, use our source for the background check that I believe is free, and then HR would forward all of those applications to council. I can't imagine that there would be an abundance. If we are overloaded, I guess we could regroup, but, and take it from there. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Questions? Or comments? Councilmember Barnwell.
I kind of like this idea, but my fear is, particularly me, I don't think we really understand the depth of, or how city managers' jobs are very complex, and there's a lot to them, and I don't have I can tell what kind of person might want to live here and that they might want to stay here, but I certainly don't have the knowledge to understand how competent they are as a city manager, and particularly a city manager that might fit our needs. And I don't even know how to judge that. I don't even know how to begin to do that. I'm sure some of you do. Maybe Jeanette can help us with that, but that would be my fear.
Other comments on the motion? Councilmember Wells.
So, before we vote, again, I just want to ask HR, because they're the ones who are going to be in charge of this, right? Is this something you're comfortable with for 30 days?
For the 30 days, yes, I am.
Yep. And you're comfortable bringing qualified candidates if there are any?
Yes, I am.
Councilmember Barnwell.
Could I ask if Mr. Regis is comfortable with this position? Because that kind of, it affects him pretty dramatically, I think.
Would that be, yeah, I guess we can, are you asking him, is he comfortable with extending an extra 30 days potentially? And so Mr. Regis.
So, Madam Mayor, council members, so looking through the contract, there's a lot of stuff on here that HR cannot do. Social Security trace and verification, U.S. Federal Criminal Search, I think that can be done through the police department. All that stuff is a U.S. background screening. There's a lot of it she can't do. So that's, I mean, they have the resources to do that, and that's just, what I see right away off the top of everything. Yeah, she can recruit in state, but a lot of that stuff she won't be able to do, so. But I'm comfortable whatever you folks decide. I think the last one, it worked out great with Jeanette. Things happen. Before that, I understand, but they backed up and it went out again for us.
Okay, does that answer your question? Other comments, questions? And we're talking about the motion to postpone this for 30 days. Councilmember Calhoun.
I just have one question for Mayor Jacobs that she might be able to answer for us. If this were to get postponed for that period of time, and then we decided to come back to you, would that change any of the contract terms or anything that you have laid out now, or would they just remain the same?
Ms. Jacobs?
Thank you, council member. We are happy to wait, or if you're successful, wonderful. We want Seward to have, a qualified, good city manager in the future. And if we can assist with that, we would be delighted. And if it's something that, you want to try on your own, we have we basically have a couple of set paths. We do the full recruitment cost won't change. I think our price proposal is good for 6 months. So we do offer other options where there is, not as much outreach, where we just advertise and, basically do what you're doing. But whatever's the pleasure of the council, we're here to help if that's something that we can do for you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wells.
Yes, thank you. So I noticed on page 26, the timeline, the project timeline, which is 14 weeks. And I just want us all to realize that we would be adding, it'd be 18 weeks. Awesome.
Councilmember Demas.
Well, or if you're, find someone that is out of Seward, it would be 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And let me just ask, Ms. Jacobs, relative to this, you did say that you would be putting a priority on recruiting from Alaska. Is that correct? Or maybe Idaho or something like that?
Yes, I think that is definitely warranted for this position.
So that's I mean, that would be talking the other side.
We find in our experience that people who have a connection to the community that they, end up relocating to are the ones who are more likely to stick around.
Yeah.
And to us, that's important.
Absolutely. I have a question for, maybe administration knows this, or maybe you. There have been recruitments and new city managers in various cities and towns in Alaska, and they haven't been using, how have they been getting them? For example, Madam City Manager, how did it go with Soldotna? How did they do it?
In Soldotna, they did their own recruiting through AML, through the Managers Association, and elsewhere. I'm pretty sure LinkedIn, but I'm not quite. I had to find out. Okay. And then, so they did all of that through their HR department, and then when it came to background checks, they hired a separate company to do the backgrounds.
And that was successful. Okay. Which speaks to the motion. Yeah. I mean, not for us, but yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? The motion that's been made. Madam Clerk, could you please reread the motion, just so we all know?
Voting on the motion to postpone Resolution 2023-046 to the first meeting in June, which is June 12th, to allow for city recruitment for a city recruitment period.
Okay. We ready to vote? Looks like we're ready, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Voting on that motion, Wells,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Bosenga,
No.
Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved.
Okay, well, so there you have it. That means that potentially we would be bringing this resolution back on June 12th. I suppose we wouldn't be if we have found a successful,
Well, bring it back.
we'd still bring it back. Okay.
Have to just
Thank you, I've
Yeah.
got to word this correctly. So we will bring this back on June 12th. So does this then kind of make it a moot point to discuss all of the recruiting qualifiers, or because we can't discuss that if it's not on the resolution, Madam Clerk, is that correct? So would we have to have a special time with our HR department if we have some specifics we want?
Is there something included in the packet that that could be discussed as far as the recruitment materials go, or do you want to come back with that?
Oh, I will come back with that, please.
Okay, so we would then set a special meeting or something like that to do this fairly soon. Okay, thank you. Madam City Manager.
There is a special meeting scheduled for May 8th that we would update the title and information on. That information could be brought back to you. Regarding recruitment, I'm assuming that you're going to want to approve what goes out for recruitment and set some boundaries on it.
That's kind of what I meant.
Yes,
So
yeah.
when
Okay.
would we be doing that then?
May 8th
That
at
would be
5:30?
Sooner would be nice.
I'm sorry?
Could we do it
Madam-
sooner?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's up to you guys.
Councilmember Demas.
My thought is that puts us at June 8th for 30 days, so it doesn't give us a chance to look at applications and figure out if we want to bring a resolution past.
So would you want to call a special meeting sometime
Yeah.
between now and May 8th?
Yes.
To have this discussion with HR? Let me go to Vice Mayor Osenga first.
I just won't be here that week before. I'll be gone for that.
There's 2 weeks.
Right, but if there's,
Oh.
I don't know how much time HR needs to do this, but
Okay.
if it's the week before
Let's
me,
look at
that
calendars.
won't be here.
Okay, Councilmember DeMoss.
Can I ask HR how much time they would need to come back to us? I guess it would be us telling you what our requirements would be to put out, so do you have a preference as to how much time?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Just-
Councilmember Wells.
I just wanted to state that I'll be gone May 1st through the 7th.
Well, that pretty well covers the 2 weeks. No, so there's this week. There's this week. Vice Mayor Osenga.
I need to correct myself, I will be here that week. Thank you.
Oh, now he tells us. Okay, well, in any
It just came to
event,
my mind, thank you. Sorry about that.
you'll be here on May 8th.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
You will be here on May 8th.
Correct.
Does that sound like a 5:30-ish? I mean, by that time, what we need to do individually is come up with our top 3 or 4 qualifiers, I would think. You know, this is what we did before. A lot of them will be similar. We could word them, we could squish them together probably pretty easily, I think. We have to do that anyway. Councilmember Wells, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say that I think Councilmember DeMoss is correct, and we should get it done as soon as possible. If we could have a meeting this week, at the end of this week, since we already have a really good rough draft of everything. If we, I don't see why we couldn't have it done Thursday or Friday.
Okay, so what about 5:30 on Thursday this week?
Or-
It wouldn't take very long. I don't have choir this time, so I can do Thursdays. Is there anything, Madam City Manager should ask about availability of the building, or Madam Clerk?
I don't think anything's,
I'm just throwing this out there as a
Yeah.
possibility to get it moving.
I think it's, I think it's open.
Okay. And
5:30.
Okay, and 5:30 allows you to get there, but it's early enough that we still would have our meeting and stuff. Is that an acceptable time? It's okay? Okay. Do we need to vote on that, or can we just decide?
Do we have a consent for a
Okay.
special meeting? Oh, that's fine, thank you.
Unanimous consent?
This Thursday,
This Thursday
what time?
at 5:30, and then we need and we have time enough to put that out, obviously, so. Okay, well, having done that, I'd like to suggest that everybody sit down and write out your top 5 or whatever things you most want to stress in the recruitment process.
We have a lot of materials that, from historical.
Oh, I know, and there's,
The most recent from GovHR.
Right.
But we have materials from earlier than that as well, so
we can get a hold of that through you or
there's
through,
going to be a lot that you can choose from, I think,
Right.
overall.
but these are fresh brains.
Yep.
Some of them fresher than others, and, we some of us have had enough experience doing this that we may want to emphasize different things. Now, that was going to be part of the discussion tonight, but, Councilmember Wells.
Could I request that the clerk email us that information that was used in the past so that
Is
we
there-
can review it and make sure we're in the right track? Is that possible?
If it's amenable to council, I can work with the HR person and the city manager and provide materials for her for the packet that would give you all the draft of your historical.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as the mayor said, maybe in the meantime, you could come up with your own and then Thursday,
Squish 'em
put them
together.
together.
That would be my hope. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't believe we could we discuss some of that now? But we're not talking about I mean, I want to be careful what we talk about that's advertised, and so I think we should.
For the special meeting?
Well, can we now, since we're sitting here for another half hour, talk about our preferences and likes and dislikes, but it's not, it was, I don't know. I need advice.
Why don't we do that on Tuesday?
I don't want to talk about something that's not advertised specifically. And this was advertised to be discussing it with GovHR.
Right.
So I'm being really careful. And that's fine, because we've already scheduled a special meeting anyway, and it won't hurt us to have a break, but I don't know how, that maybe you guys don't even want to do it right now, are you?
I mean, are these materials, would you include these materials?
These are the
previous ones?
Yeah, they were just ones for them to look at as a reference as to how it looked for 19 and 20, I believe is written on the bottom. So these are just the documents from GovHR and how they did it before.
So these are the materials, some of the materials that you would receive on
Correct.
Thursday? So.
Maybe we should wait.
I mean.
Kind of,
Yes, Councilmember Wells.
it seems like a very gray area.
I know.
And I would prefer to wait.
I think, having asked the question, I
Yeah.
think so. Okay, so on Thursday at 5:30, we will go through the whole thing and qualifiers, and also look at advertising, what do we want to say about Seward, and all that. And we'll just bring that all up then. So make your notes so we can not spend forever at it, but come up with a good plan. Okay, any other comments about this? Okay, then I'm going to move on to citizens' comments. This is the 5 minutes at the end, and we got oh, thank you. We've got a couple of citizens out there. Do any citizens wish to comment? Go ahead. You have the floor.
I actually think that, Linda Paquette, outside city limits. I actually think, given the election and the other thing that's on that election, which is expanding the border for the city manager residency, I think this was really a smart thing. I really, I mean, there's the money side of it, but just the timing of it really, I think, will work for you, especially if that gets a yes vote, then it opens up that whole thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to council and administration comments and responses to citizens' comments. And I'll start with administration. No further comment, thank you. Okay, how about Councilmember Barnwell? Comments?
I'm actually kind of excited about this, just because I think trying to get someone Alaskan focused, I just think is a really good idea, and it gives us a timeline. We can, and we're under the gun on that timeline, but hopefully we can find some candidates that are useful.
Okay, Councilmember Wells.
Well, I'd like to thank GovHR for their presentation.
I wish you'd stayed on.
Yeah. And I appreciated her
Have a
staying on the
chance.
line even after we stated that we were going to wait. But I appreciate Councilmember DeMoss bringing up the extension, not only because of the money and we may be able to do it on our own, but since it's my first time participating in this, I feel like it gives me an extra 30 days to kind of really understand what's going on instead of just starting to vet applicants from GovHR. So I feel like we made a right decision.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DeMoss.
Yeah, I am. I'm also excited that we are focusing on Alaska and doing our own recruitment. And I think, like Councilmember Calhoun said, this hasn't worked. Let's try it a different way is nice, And so I think it's also good to remember to tell all your friends and, just reach out to people, word of mouth, tell people that we are hiring a city manager. Maybe you know someone that's qualified. Maybe I know someone, I don't know. But, just grassroots effort a little bit, see what we can come up with.
Thank you. Councilmember Finch.
I appreciate GovHR's presentation, but I think, like I said, the amount of people, years of sitting here living in Alaska, we know what we want more than they can present. I'm more than willing to put in the time to help.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Yeah, it was I think it was a good way to go, and I just do want to clarify that my comments were not made based on anybody sitting in this room and how that worked out. It was just a general observation that we're going for a third city manager in 4 years, and so maybe trying things is a little bit different. Maybe will work out better, so that's all.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osenga.
Yeah, thank you to GovHR for the presentation. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, well, this was a good discussion, and, you know, we aren't the first city council to do it on our own. I wanted to hear that, and so maybe, and I think before GovHR, the city council probably did it on their own. I don't know. I don't know how it went, but
Many times.
yeah, they did. So this is good, I think, and we'll move along. So with that, we do have another meeting in a half hour. If people are watching, you can come back and watch us at 7 o'clock. And with that, I will adjourn the special meeting at 6:30.